Welcome back to the Messy Friendship Lessons podcast. Woo! Happy New Year. And in the new year, I am giving you 5 hard friendship truths for 2025. Last year, I gave you 24 friendship rules for 2024. Honestly, those all still ring true. So go give that episode a listen if you need some friendship rules for this year. So let's get straight into the 5 hard truths. Truth number 1, don't cast pearls before swine. Not everyone should have access to the best parts of you. Stop wasting your pearls on people who only know how to trample them. Your pearls signify the things that are valuable that you give. Your wisdom, your time, your energy. The swine is the people who do not value those things that you are giving. I'm not out here calling anybody a pig. Okay, if you're hearing that, then you're not hearing what I'm saying. It is a metaphor or an analogy. Pigs do not comprehend pearls. As amazing of animals as pigs are, they do not understand the value of pearls. Pearls mean nothing to pigs. They would just trample on them. Likewise, not everyone will appreciate or even understand the love, the effort, or the wisdom that you are offering in a friendship. And instead of repeatedly attempting to give this to people who trample on what you're offering, it's okay to take a step back and preserve your pearls for the people that will value them. I didn't come up with don't cast your pearls before swine. It's in Matthew 7:6. The full thing says, do not throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you. And I think that perfectly exemplifies the point and the hard truth that I really had to come to grips with last year, and I'm firmly holding on and swallowing this tough pill, okay, this year. We have to be discerning in who and how we share valuable things like wisdom, like our truth, like our kindness. We can share it and pour it into people who don't appreciate them or don't respect their worth. And that can look like various things. It can look like someone who constantly takes from you without giving back in a friendship, someone who dismisses your feelings continuously in a friendship, or someone who consistently fails to support you in a friendship. We need to recognize when someone isn't capable of valuing what we offer and know when to take a step back and redirect that elsewhere. Because why would you give pearls to a pig? It doesn't mean anything to a pig, and you're wasting your pearls. And I was wasting my pearls. In 2025, I'm committing to protecting both my spiritual and emotional health. Sometimes I find I've tried too hard to explain myself or fix an issue or help someone see my perspective. But the truth is, not everyone is ready or willing to listen. And if you continue to push in those cases, that's where you find yourself frustrated, hurt, or even in conflict. Worst cases, resentful. So I'm not preaching cutting people off as a response. I am preaching putting in boundaries and protecting your emotional and your spiritual health. You need to recognize when to let go. If someone continually tramples on your pearls, it's okay to step away with love and grace. And for me, in 2025, I'm really praying, Lord, help me to discern in my friendships who is worthy of my pearls and who might be or is misusing them. It was a tough, tough pill to swallow, because sometimes, especially if I've known somebody for a long time, I will try and try and try and try, but at some point you've got to realize that you can't keep tossing pearls at pigs, and in fact they're trampling on them and they're turning around and attacking you for throwing pearls at them. Know when to let go. Next, we have hard truth number 2. I feel like this is actually the hardest truth on this list. At least it was for me. But it's something that it's a hard truth and a hard pill that I am swallowing. I'm chucking it down. I'm drinking the water. I'm forcing it down my throat. This is a hard pill that I must swallow moving into 2025. And it is this: who they keep around reveals what they are okay with. Who someone keeps around says everything about what they're willing to tolerate. And if they're excusing harmful behavior in their circle, it reflects their true values. This was so hard for me to accept, but people's circles actually reflect their values or their lack of boundaries. There's a proverb that says, "Who walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companions of fools will suffer harm." Look, even if you are the most strong-willed person, and guys, I am strong-willed. Ask anybody who knows me, they will tell you, oh, she is strong-willed. I do not succumb to peer pressure at all. For example, last year, I made the decision to not drink any alcohol because I'd learned some information about how it affects your health. And I literally went to this dinner my friend hosted. She messages me and she's like, "Hey, what are you gonna drink? Are you okay with tonic water?" Because that's what I usually have. And I was like, "Babes, don't worry." Pulled up to my local Tesco, grabbed my £1.50 bottle of Schler, walked into this dinner party, slammed my £1.50 bottle of Schler on that table with all the fancy bottles of wine around, and I'm pouring into my Schler and sipping it out of my wine glass. I do not care. People are offering me glasses of wine. I'm like, no, I'm not drinking. Okay. I I am strong-willed. Yet, even I know that the people you surround yourself with influence you and they can affect you. And so when we think about being around harmful behavior, even if it doesn't change you, and even if you feel like I'm not explicitly co-signing this, it does desensitize you to that behavior. And that is dangerous. So this was a hard pill for me because this has happened more than once. There's not even one specific scenario I can think of because this is something that happens and honestly is low-key normalized in our culture, but a lot of people have friends that they need to apologize for. Friends that they're like, oh, I don't know what they may say. Like they're probably gonna say something that's gonna upset someone, or they're probably gonna say something that is just not okay. And they really need to watch their mouth. And so I will be in these situations where maybe I've met a friend of a friend or a mutual or someone that everyone is comfortable with, and they've made a bigoted comment, and you watch people around, be like, hush, she just doesn't know when to shut up. Look at her. She's always unfiltered. Just shush. Or you have someone apologizing for their friends saying, oh, like, I can't believe they say that. They just say the wildest things. Like, I'm so sorry about them. And anytime that happens, genuinely, what I think in my head, if I'm being really explicitly honest, I'm just like, how do you sit comfortably with this? How do you make space for this in your life? Because I know you from what I thought I knew. You don't stand for this and you actually would never speak in this way. So how are you able to maintain a friendship or have someone in your circle who exhibits these behaviors? And I use bigoted for a reason because that is usually the cases in which I interact and see this happen. I had to start to realize that the person who is making the excuses for their friend or saying they're sorry about their friend or saying, they just say the wildest things, I had to realize that what those people are tolerating in their circle actually reflects their values. It says in Amos, can two walk together unless they are agreed to do so? And that is so true. I could generally not walk, commune, consistently be in friendship with someone who was expressing bigotry because it would generally make me extremely uncomfortable, and I would say something about it so much that I doubt a person like that would want to be friends with me anyway. They'd be like, oh, she's always on my neck about this. So I could not understand that unless you are agreed. And keeping someone close to you who exhibits harmful behaviors is an implicit agreement. And that was hard for me to accept. I was like, no, I don't want to think that you implicitly agree with this. But I had to realize who you keep around you reveals what you are okay with. Please note that this isn't a point about judgment of the person, judgment of people. It's more about integrity. It's about saying, look, I'm not judging you, but I also don't tolerate or co-sign what you're saying and what you consistently, frequently, and loudly and boldly proclaim. And I won't tolerate what goes against my values, even if it may be a bit uncomfortable for me to speak up or walk away or distance from a certain friendship. And I know that I don't say this from a high horse, but genuinely, I do not have a single friend in which, if I was to introduce them to anyone or people who hadn't met them, that I would have to start apologizing or giving a disclaimer before you even met or interacted or spoke to them because of the way they speak or the things they say. It's just not a reality for me at all. And so it also made me look around and have to come to accept that if someone is keeping someone around who exhibits certain behavior, then they're okay with it. And I then need to unpack how I feel about the fact that I'm realizing that they are okay with it. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I have friends around that I really don't agree with anything, any of the crazy stuff they say, but they're a good friend of mine and, it's just how they are, like, I don't know. Then I want you to really think about that. Think about whether you are actually in full disagreement with what they're saying. Because if you are, how can you stand to be around them? And maybe it's one of those things where you have to accept, actually, yeah, I don't really care that much about the crazy things they say. You know what? I respect that more because that's real. If you're basically saying, like, unfortunately, the truth is, yeah, I am okay with it. On the low, I am okay with it. It doesn't make me that uncomfortable. It doesn't unfaze me that much. Fine. If that's what you're saying, come. And if that's what you're saying, that's what I needed to start to realize. That when people keep people around them who exhibit that, that is what they're saying. But if you're someone who's like, actually, no, that's not what I'm saying and that's not what I co-sign, then I would want you to start to think about that in 2025 because it might mean that you start to walk and live with integrity. That actually, I'm not gonna tolerate this around me. Regardless, the people you surround yourself with do influence you. And if it doesn't change you to adopt some of their mindsets, it will desensitize you to their mindsets. Walk with the wise and you'll become wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Okay, nicely moving on. The third hard hitting truth is honestly one I have come to accept and is one that I am just fully comfortable with. But I had to put it on here because I know a lot of people are not there yet. And I'm not 100% there, but I'm more there than I was at the beginning of 2024. The third truth is you can't live your life fearing people's opinion. Living in fear of judgment will keep you small. You cannot build authentic friendships or an authentic life if you're constantly living in fear of other people's judgment. I really don't care what people think. Like, not too much, if I really think about it. And please do not confuse this for not caring about people or being disrespectful. Because some people say, oh, I don't care what people think. I say what I want. I do what I want. No, I don't have a disregard for how my actions affect other people. And I am absolutely not disrespectful. At the end of the day, I'm a Yoruba babe. My name is Tomisen. Yoruba people respect, honor, they're huge. They're huge, huge on it. I respect my elders. I respect the people I report to. I respect the people that I work for. I respect the people that I work with. I respect human beings in general. I am respectful and I treat other people with honor because that is important. But that is different from fearing the judgment of people. Fearing the judgment of people is literally being overcome with the anxiety of it, making decisions out of a place of fear, like, what are people going to think about me? What are people going to say? Who is perceiving me? Who is watching? What are they saying behind my back? What will they say if I do this? What will they say if I do that? You never want anyone to have any thought about you. You're worried what everyone will think about you. That is fear. It's holding you back so much from living such a free and authentic life. It affects your ability to make friendships and just put yourself out there because that social anxiety will hold you back from speaking to people out of fear of being perceived or judged or rejected. It will affect your actual friendships because it manifests in people pleasing, and so you won't show up authentically. And I mean, I've done a whole episode on the superficial appeal of people pleasers, so I won't hammer into that point too much. But the fear of people's opinion opinions really, really does hold you back. Guys, I used to struggle with social anxiety, so it's a huge thing on my heart, but really and truly, let go of the fear of being perceived. I just imagine someone like curled up in a ball with like a huge weight on top of them. That's what it feels like to live in fear of people, and you're just like looking around everywhere skittish. That's what when I put that imagery of what it used to feel like with social anxiety, that is what it feels like. And living in fear of people, that's the imagery that comes to my head. And that is not a way to live, my dear. For me, I fear and trust God, and that's it. I respect people, I honor people, I love people, but I do not fear people. I can't, and I do not live my life solely for the opinions and the applause or the boos, whatever, of other people. Rejection therapy is something that is so amazing. I think sometimes you gotta do things scared. Do it scared. I've done a lot of rejection therapy in 2024. The levels of my not caring have reached new heights. That's why I said I'm excited for 2025. I wonder what it's going to be like. And rejection therapy is just basically putting yourself in situations where you would face a no or rejection or judgment from others and realizing it's not that deep and no one really cares. So it's doing something weird, right? Doing something weird in public. I know someone who, it's a viral video. She's doing rejection therapy and she's on a yoga mat outside in the street and she's just laying there for 5 minutes. And it does become so freeing. No one's really deeping and perceiving you like that. If I sat down now and thought, if someone asked me, okay, recall or tell me about a time someone was really weird in public in the last month, someone did something really weird, it will take me a moment to think about it. It really would. Like, it's taking me a moment to sit down and be like, okay, what was the last weird thing I saw someone do? And I'm pretty sure this month I've seen someone do something weird in public. I just don't remember because most of us don't care that much. We've all got our lives going on, our own things. When we are watching people or seeing people in public, no one is perceiving and deeping it like crazy. So free yourself. Free yourself from the chain and shackles of the opinions of others and being afraid. If you want to really unpack that one, go listen to Superficial Appeal of People Pleasers because it really unpacks this whole thing of fearing people's opinions. But that is a hard-hitting truth that you need to swallow. And I've been swallowed that pill. That is one that I am taking into 2025 and I had it in 2024. You cannot live your life fearing people's opinions because the fear of man will lead to destruction every single time. Fearing people's opinions will lead to your own destruction. Number 4. Ooh, I said number 2 was my hardest one to swallow, but I think number 4 has literally been the theme of the previous year, the theme of 2024 for me. So it's one that I'm taking into 2025 with a fire and a fierceness. Number 4 is you can't communicate your way into respect. Respect isn't something you beg for, bargain for, explain your way into. If they are not giving you what you have asked for, no amount of talking will change that. You can talk till tomorrow comes, talk till kingdom comes. For all you know, keep talking. You will waste your breath because nothing is going to change that. And this was such a hard truth for me because I talk about communication a lot on here. And, I think to a certain extent was very like communication will solve everything. But no matter how much you explain, ask, give grace, respect, that has to come willingly from the other person. A perfect example is support. Right now, support is so important to me in friendships, but it makes sense why I require that so much because of the stage of life I'm in. I'm trying to build a bunch of things and start a bunch of things. For example, this podcast, right? I want friends who will support, reshare. You see me doing a podcast, it's not that hard. Like, comment, reshare, post it on your story, whatever. Engage, show your support and love when you see your friend trying to do something. And in 2024, I caught myself begging people to support me. That's crazy. That's crazy. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5th time. Come on now. I was wasting my breath and I was being silly. I couldn't communicate my way into getting support. You can't communicate your way into a friend spending time with you, begging a friend to spend time with you. Please, like, spend time with me. Please make time in your schedule for me. Please, 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 please. Begging on your hands and knees, literally thinking you can communicate your way into that. In friendships, I think it's easy to believe that if we're just clear enough, if we're patient enough, if we're gracious enough, the other person will eventually come around. But a hard truth I needed to accept, and I am having to accept going into 2025, is that respect is a reflection of their values, not of my efforts. I can open my mouth and give loads of lip service. I can open my mouth with wisdom and kindness and phrase it the right way and come with peace. But I cannot force someone to see or respond in a way that aligns with my expectations. I really learned this the hard way this year, but I found myself in situations where I attempted to communicate, gave grace, and explained to a friend why what I was asking for would mean so much and why I needed it. And their lack of action spoke louder than any words ever could. And at some point, I had to sit back and ask myself, what am I doing? Why am I begging? I'm literally becoming a beg. I'm begging you at this point. I had to stop trying to communicate respect into existence and to start recognizing the truth. Closed mouths don't get fed. I've expressed and communicated what I needed. You haven't matched up to it. At that point, I can then say, if you really wanted to, you would. At that point, after I've communicated and communicated and begged and begged and begged, I have to realize, actually, what am I doing? If they really wanted to now, at this point, now that they know, they would. So I need to stop asking. I need to stop repeating myself. And in Matthew, there's something that Jesus instructs his disciples when he's telling them, when they're going out. He says, if anyone does not welcome you or listen to you, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. And weirdly, I think you can apply it to this situation of just understanding that, look, no matter how clear or kind a message is, no matter how much you have grown and learned to work on your communication, there is a point where you also need to realize that you cannot communicate your way into respect. You cannot communicate your way into support. You cannot communicate your way into someone valuing you or being intentional with you. The solution in those situations isn't to keep begging or asking for the same thing over and over again. The solution is to let go and move forward and understand how you want to move accordingly. If you know what you're asking for is a huge necessity and need for you, then maybe that's one of those things where you're like, this is actually a huge thing for me in friendship. So this friendship, I need to remove my hand. It's not going to work. But if you know it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I've asked for this. I actually do need this. You're not able to provide it. So I'm just going to remove my hand slightly, take a step back, and just we'll be like this. I'll see you when I see you. I won't repeat myself. I won't beg you to show up. I won't beg you, oh, let's spend time together. Like, at that point, come on now. Come on now, what are you doing? So in 2025, let's make a commitment not to repeat ourselves. That's my commitment. If I've said, my rule of thumb is if I've said it 2 times to you, the same thing repeatedly, if it comes up a 3rd time, I'm not going to say it again. I'm just going to take a step back, observe, and then make a decision on what I want to do. Because there's no amount talking. You actually can't force people to meet your expectations. You can't drag their hand and force them to do it. So if you know it's a huge and important expectation for you, then you need to then reassess and move accordingly. It's one thing to realize someone is incapable of doing something and that's why they're not meeting it. But gosh, it is a harder pill to swallow when you realize that they just don't want to. Just not for you. Especially if you're in a situation where you see it being done for other friends. But that one's gonna hurt, baby girl. That one's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. So take your water, take that pill, take a huge swig, chuck it down, swallow this pill. You can't communicate your way into respect. Which flows in nicely to our 5th hard-hitting friendship truth for 2025. The 5th truth is people know exactly what they are doing. Let's stop pretending adults don't know better. 9 times out of 10, they know exactly what they are doing, and you need to act accordingly. It's so easy to excuse hurtful actions by saying, oh, they didn't mean it, oh, they don't know better, oh, there are different circumstances surrounding this, and there are reasons that they were not able to, or there are reasons they have behaved in the way they have. And all of that can be very true, but you also have to be so for real. Let's be real. Most adults are fully aware of their choices. When someone speaks to you harshly, repeatedly, when someone makes a dismissive comment to you, when someone continuously lets you down, continuously fails to show up or support you, continually fails to be intentional with your friendship, it's not usually a case of ignorance. It's just not. I'm sorry if that one hurts you and you're like, oh, I don't want to think of it that way, but it's not usually a case of ignorance. It's a reflection of their priorities, their values, or their feelings towards you. You're just not a priority, or that's just not a value for them when it comes to friendships. It's not part of their values, or they don't value you in that way. Their feelings towards you, you're honest, like they don't see you in that way when it comes to friendship. Their feelings towards you, they're just like, all right, all right. People know exactly what they're doing. This is a tough pill to swallow because if you're like me, you want to believe the best in people and you see the best in people, especially when it comes to your friends. But we have to be discerning, and we have to go into 2025 discerning. The saying that I love, and has been something I've really meditated on this year is be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. And it comes from Matthew. I think it's Matthew 10:16. But be wise as serpents and be as gentle as doves. Wisdom requires recognizing someone's intent and protecting your heart accordingly. I've been in situations, and I'm sure many of us have, where a friend has repeatedly crossed a boundary or said something hurtful or behaved in a way that you've already expressed you do not like and you've asked them not to behave in. And at first, you excuse it because you think, oh, maybe they didn't realize, or maybe they have a lot going on and they're not really deep in how their actions are affecting me. But over time, I began to see a pattern. Like over time, the picture becomes clearer. You begin to see a pattern and you begin to realize this person knows exactly what they are doing. They just don't care enough to change, or they just don't care enough to stop. Look, you know I love to talk about grace. Grace and forgiveness is so incredibly important, but so is wisdom. So is wisdom, my dear. So is wisdom, my love. If I me, so is wisdom. Grace and forgiveness are important, but so is wisdom. You must be discerning. A proverb that I also love says, the prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. You need to recognize people's intent. Intent doesn't mean you stop giving grace. No, no, no. It just means you stop ignoring signs that are there and act accordingly. That doesn't mean you now approach your friendships with cynicism or suspicion. It just means that you become observant. You're wise as a serpent. You are able to clock what is going on. You can see the patterns. You can see the shady or weird behavior. One thing about me, guys, do not mistake my kindness and my ability to be understanding for stupidity. I'm not stupid. I saw what you did. I saw the way you behaved. I clocked it. And now, going into 2025, I'm coming with this truth of understanding. You actually knew exactly what you were doing. So pay attention to people's fruits. And by fruits, I mean what they produce, what their life produces, what they produce in relationships. Pay attention to that and pay attention to their consistent behavior. Are their actions aligned with what you're looking for in friendships? So for me, I'm paying attention. Look, is this person's actions aligned with love, kindness, and respect? Or do they consistently harm, and disregard. I think we should all extend grace, especially to our friends, but you must also protect yourself. God calls me to extend grace to people, everybody, not just friends, but he also calls me to protect myself. You need to guard your heart with a vigilance. And it ties into one of the earlier points in which I was saying, I am really going to be protecting my emotional and my spiritual health. You need to guard it with vigilance. You need to guard your energy with vigilance. Otherwise, you will end up drained and frustrated, and issues of life will start to spring forth from what you failed to guard. I talk about this a lot in depth, as you guys know, for this year, because I went through the whole thing with matching energy. In the episode where I no longer believe in matching energy, I really delve into being intentional with where you pour. This whole thing about being wise and discerning, because I really needed to learn it. So here's the truth with this one. If we're talking about teenagers, maybe it'll be slightly different. If you're a teenager and you're listening to this, maybe DM me and we can talk about your situation, and I can pray for you, and I can give you advice that may be more fitting. Most of the people who listen to this podcast are adults, and we are in adult friendships. Adults are rarely clueless about their actions. 9 times out of 10, they know exactly what they are doing. And it's up to you, it's up to me to act accordingly. Grace is important, but wisdom is essential. Don't ignore patterns. Protect your heart and set boundaries that honor your worth. I'm going to remind you again, be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. In 2025, I am going to be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. But please, 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 do not mistake my gentleness for a lack of wisdom. So those are my 5 hard-hitting truths, my 5 hard-hitting friendship truths for 2025 that I will be carrying into 2025, and I will be holding and standing very, very firm on. And if you have heard any of those truths and they've really resonated with you and you plan to adopt any of them, please let me know. Please DM the Messy Friendship Lessons Instagram or TikTok. I will most definitely respond, or drop a comment and I will engage. I think I loved the 24 friendship rules for 2024, and I think a lot of those still ring true today. I wanted to come to you with hard-hitting truths because I can't lie, for me, 2024 was a year of realizing things. I did a lot of reflecting. Like I said, there was a lot of change. And as a result, I definitely grew a lot. There was a lot of growth. And with growth comes development of mindset, approaches, and this is my current approach to friendship. I hope you have a blessed and fruitful 2025, and I hope it is filled with friendships that are healthy, that pour into you, that nourish you. I'm so excited for my friendships in 2025. I'm excited to deepen certain bonds. I've made new friends in 2024, so I'm also excited for the people that I'm going to meet in 2025 and get to know. You never stop meeting people that you are going to love. So that is always exciting with each new year. Who is going to come into your life? Just make sure that you are discerning, my friend. Because certain people, if you let them in, they can wreak havoc. So you got to be careful. Okay. If you've enjoyed this episode, follow wherever you are listening. Give this a rating, leave a review, and let me know what you think. You can catch up with me more on the social media account. So that is Messy Friendship Lessons on Threads, on Instagram, on TikTok. What else are we on? I tried to make an account on Blue Sky when everyone was leaving Twitter. We are not on Twitter. Twitter is a scary, scary place, and Messy Friendship Lessons doesn't like to be in scary places. So, but you can catch us on Instagram and TikTok, and please come say hi. I like to go live, so that will be fun. Come hang out with me. As always, thank you all so, so, so much for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. I love you all. God bless you.